This podcast is part of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts, visit red5network.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast. Coming to you, as always, from deep within the Outer Rim, far beyond the watchful eyes of the Galactic Empire. My name is John Mark Tolley, and joining me, as always, is my host, the one, the only, Will. How are you today?
I am really excited.
Yeah, me too. Oh, we have so much to talk about.
By the way, bright suns, everyone. Yes, we are here. We are officially finished with the final chapter, part 6 of Obi Wan Kenobi, and we are here to talk Kenobi.
Oh, just so much. And let's just start right from the beginning. I love that there wasn't this whole big build up to, will we see Reva? Will she still be alive? Will they do the whole thing? It was just, nope, there she is.
Oh yeah. I will say this about this series, this particular series, in contrast to maybe Mandalorian and even Boba Fett. I feel like this was the most obvious that it was supposed to be a movie. Not that I don't think it was supposed to be a movie full out and they just, chopped it into 6 parts. I mean, no, that would be a 4-hour movie, which is really unheard of. They don't really do that. So, but I do think that they had an idea, maybe just a story treatment, maybe just an outline that they were going to kind of play with. And then they made the shift to doing Disney Plus, and they decided to make it, they felt like a 6-part series was there. And I feel like something that Star Wars fans have to get used to is, we've talked about this ad nauseum, and we'll still talk about it, but the whole being critical and providing feedback of how you liked it or didn't like an episode or whatever. And again, like I said, it could resonate with some, not with others, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But there was, when people get like hung up, when they're hang-ups, I'm not going to call them that. We'll call them Star Wars hang-ups. If you want to have hang-ups now, then that's different, because you can have a hang-up if you want. The show's over. Okay, the season ended, and this series is over, unless they decide to do a season 2. But until then, oh my God, for the love of the Force, can we not talk about any more about, like at the end of last episode, the Grand Inquisitor? Everybody was like, oh, why? How could they kill the Inquisitor? They didn't. They didn't kill him. There he was. And now, like you said, this week they're talking about Moses Ingram. It's like, oh, I mean, is she going to be dead? Is she going to be back? And no, there it is. Done. There it is.
Yeah.
And so much of this story today just wrapped things up very nicely, and it was fine. And it told a story. It had a beginning and a middle. It had an end.
Yeah. And there's some things that people have been saying are plot holes that I will shoot my own holes into to fill those plot holes.
Plot holes in the plot.
They are not. Well, let's just get one right over, because it's going to be full of spoilers. So spoiler alert if you haven't already.
Weep, weep, weep. Spoiler
For
alert.
those who complain about Reva's redemption, about Reva turning back to the light side, have you not seen Star Wars? Star Wars is all about redemption.
I've heard rumors, that's what we're hearing now, that she might be getting her own show, which I would be really interested in seeing. What I'm loving about this time in fandom, and the fact that, Disney Plus has allowed us to take more intimate stories, and it doesn't have to be such broad strokes. And we've been able to see that with this Mandalorian character. We've been able to see it with Boba Fett. We've been able to see characters develop in ways that they just wouldn't be able to do in a Skywalker film, or even a spin-off like Rogue One or Solo. They need time. They need episodes. This is storytelling, a type of storytelling. And, my goodness, Star Wars has been getting in the weeds with this kind of thing since Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Did you ever read that, by the way?
I have not read that, no.
It's interesting. It's very interesting. It's especially interesting, sorry, sidebar here. It's very interesting considering where the story went. But this was, the original idea of that was that it was going to be kind of a sequel. And in case the movie flopped, but they wanted to, the original movie, and they wanted to have more further adventures, this could be a direction that it went. So it's interesting, you know what I mean? And then we have all the comics, all the Marvel comics, all the Dark Horse comics, back to more Marvel comics. They have been digging into these little places to tell stories for decades.
Oh yeah.
It's just this is the first time we've seen it in live action. So I'm there for it. So I because like I said, pick it off the shelf or don't. But I'm happy it's there. All right. So
I mean, yeah. We see their Tatooine, and we see that same guy that was at the whale meet.
Yeah, the bully. I kind of was like, oh, is this guy gonna get his comeuppance or whatever?
The Ryan Airy, shout out to Ryan Airy at Screen Crush gave a good shout out, gave a good nickname for him. Said there's a new species in the Star Wars galaxy, the space redneck.
I know. It's like, okay.
But that's when we see that Reva is not dead. She is very much alive,
but injured.
Injured, yes.
Which I appreciated that she didn't just bounce back from that.
Yeah. And she is looking for Owen.
Okay, now I do have one question.
Yeah.
So in the last episode, we got the understanding that the third sister, Reva, was, it turns out, finds out that she was a youngling, and that she is in fact actually going after Vader.
Yes.
Okay? And she's getting Kenobi so that she can be on Vader's right-hand woman, and then she can be in a place of good position so that she could take him out. Now, that she does that, it fails. She fails miserably.
Mm-hmm.
So what was her arc at this point?
I think at this point,
going to find
Luke. She was just trying to, from a character standpoint, I think she thought killing Vader would help heal that pain. And at this point, I think it's just she wants someone to feel the same pain that she's feeling. I think that's what it is. I think she's done trying to find Vader. She's realized Vader is off the table. So she saw all these younglings killed, so now she's going to kill a youngling herself and have someone else feel that same pain that she felt. I think that's what it is.
Okay. Anyway, I thought it was interesting. I mean, we're kind of fast forwarding, but we can
Yeah, we can bounce back and forth.
I liked that. Let's tell her story. Talk about her story first. I enjoyed how they going parallel stories that really didn't connect until the very end.
Mm-hmm.
And when Obi-Wan shows up, and Obi-Wan didn't have to do anything. He was just standing there. She made the conscious decision, to not end the life and brought him back, And what was she saying? She was on the ground and she was kind of kneeling, and Obi-Wan knelt down to her, and I failed
him.
I failed them.
I failed them.
So there was this connection with the other younglings, with the ones that she couldn't save. And I think that she was just so full of regret and remorse and darkness that she just was going to give into it. But then she opted not to. She made a choice.
Yes.
And she was not like Anakin. She was not like Vader. So I thought that was interesting. I will say my only slight criticism, and it is slight, is that I didn't feel that they told that last part of the narrative very well.
Yeah.
That was it. It was just, there was a lot of things that were more inference, it was inferred but not said outright. Okay. I mean, as I said, that's pretty much my only minor right. But yeah, I liked how her character ended up. I liked that she didn't die. I think that they're leaving her character open. I think that she can be in a Star Wars universe, you need to have characters to tell stories. You can't constantly, and if Obi-Wan is even got even the slightest hope for a second season, you got to know that there's somebody in Lucasfilm and at the story group thinking about, well, can Ben and Reva go on an adventure? Can they do something? Can there be, because she's a character that we've never seen before, and we don't want to have Ben interacting too much with Leia at this point, or with Luke. We don't want that threat to be there. So if they do want to tell another story, there's a way to do that. Now, if they do it, if they choose not to, go somewhere else, fine. But I think that's part of the reason anyway. I think that she presents a good character. And now that she's no longer tied to the dark side, she can now become the hero or the protagonist. And we can see what happens with that. So
Now, one thing I want to get right out of the way is I've seen a few people complaining about...
People complaining? Star Wars, really?
Oh, I know, right? The scene at the homestead when Luke is running away from Leia, or not Leia, from Reva, and Reva ignites her lightsaber. They're saying that breaks canon because Luke doesn't act like he knew what a lightsaber is. But
did he even see it?
That's the thing. He never saw it. They shot it in a way that Luke never really gets a good look at who is chasing him. So when you see the scene of him climbing out of the homestead, the little pit thing, little underground thing that they have, he's climbing out into the desert, and Reva has her lightsaber. His back is turned the entire time as he's running, and the only time, and then when they're in the canyon again, Reva doesn't have her lightsaber lit, and Luke is far enough away that he never gets direct eye contact with her.
Right.
So that does not break canon. That does not break anything to do with Luke not knowing about Luke knowing about the Force or not knowing about the Force, because when it's used on him, it knocks him out.
Right. So exactly. So, but that's their complaint.
That was one of the complaints that breaks canon. But
I have to, for those who are only listening to this, I just, while Mark was talking, I decided to put a little sign on my mug of water called Fanboy Tears, which are mighty strong. I'm choking on it.
I know, right?
I can't take credit for that. That's Pablo Hidalgo from Lucasfilm has a mug that says that, so which I absolutely adore. So I don't know. I don't mean to mess with people's childhoods and whatever, but come on, folks.
No, it's the same people that we see all the time that complain about it. Anyway, but yeah, I love that, kind of like you said, that kind of parallel story that we have going of Obi-Wan going after Vader. And one thing I really like is the parallels between how each of the episodes of this series have somehow paralleled the same episode in the movie trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've all kind of gone, we're introduced to episode 1, we're introduced to a kid who's happened to be Force sensitive.
Yes.
Episode 2, we go to a kind of Blade Runner-ish type world where you have this it's the same thing where they're on the streets of Coruscant in episode 2 with all the lights and neon. It's the same thing where they're on the planet. Each one is kind of parallel at one point.
And what was this one? What was 6?
Return of the Jedi.
I know, but what was the parallel? I guess just redemption.
Also Obi-Wan going after Vader. Says I have to go after him. I have to stop him. Luke says the same thing in Return of the Jedi. I have to stop him.
And Obi-Wan, removes himself from the situation with his friend. So.
Which someone they made a joke when I was watching the Screen Crush breakdown. They made the joke of, well, why didn't Vader just send TIE fighters after the rebel ship, or go after the rebel ship in his own TIE fighter, or go after Obi-Wan in his own TIE fighter? And Ryan just says, because Star Wars.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Because Star Wars.
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
But
sometimes logic does not work in a galaxy far, far away.
Let me tell you a side story. If I already told you this, stop me.
Okay.
The last week of school, of course, kids are not getting any work done. So not the last week, but maybe the last 2 days. So my colleague decided to put on a movie. I wasn't my decision. It wasn't my movie. They put on the movie Sonic the Hedgehog. Did I tell you?
Yeah, you told.
I did tell you.
Said,
okay.
Yeah.
Right. And as I said, they were questioning something that the hedgehog did, and I went, you got a moving around hedgehog, and that's what you're upset about. Okay, fine. Yeah. Anyway, so the Reva character I think ended well. I think the Reva character arc the redemption was made without it being too over the top. She's still in pain. She still has to deal with the trauma of this, and then she's going to move on. So, and leave potential. Maybe nothing, maybe something. Maybe we'll see her in another show, another series. Who knows? But then we got Obi-Wan, who, like you said, makes a decision to leave.
Leave the ship, yeah.
Leave the ship. I mean, it's partially to, I think he's driven by a few things. I think he's driven to try to protect everybody else by, he knows that Vader will follow him. Mm-hmm. So he decides to, jump ship, in a literal jump ship, to chase by Vader, and then hopefully they'll leave them alone. I think he also knows that he has to face Vader. I think he knows that, he's built up his force strength. He has to face him again. But the big thing that the big takeaway for Obi-Wan is right up through that confrontation is that he still believed he could save Anakin.
Yeah.
Or he could get through to Anakin. Mm-hmm. And boy, that fight, I mean,
that was emotional.
Yes.
It was a great fight, but it wasn't epic. It wasn't necessarily this.
Well, we already had that,
It was emotional.
We needed a different type of fight. Like, I have loved how Lucasfilm has handled, lightsaber fights, because they can't all be the same thing. If they did the same thing, I will say this, I felt there was enough level of epicness to see when you see Vader. Like, you remember the last time we saw Vader do this level of physicality was in the end of Rogue One. And he really didn't have any equal. He was basically tearing through, Rebel troopers like they were battle droids. And that's what he was doing. And it was amazing and it was epic to see, but it wasn't him fighting an equal. And here we see, and even a few episodes ago, he was toying with Obi-Wan, for God's sake. He wasn't really fighting him, but here we see an actual fight. And one, yes, it's not over lava and it doesn't take 20 minutes to get through, but it was an emotional, and it was raw. And when you see Obi-Wan, just throwing rocks and peppering him, and to see Vader, I haven't seen him live action get the what beat out of him since Luke was sitting there over him, taking whacks at him. And then cutting off his arm or his hand, and his robotic hand, apparently. This was you're right, emotional and raw. And to see it happen, it was just unbelievable. But to have, and I knew it was coming, but we all knew that we were going to see the face, that same idea. And I liked I think somebody pointed out that, in this particular moment in Star Wars history, Obi-Wan takes out it's Vader's right side of his face. And then, later on in Rebels, Ahsoka takes out the other.
Yeah. Right. And neither one of them completely takes off the mask. Only one person
did that, Luke. So it's almost like a trifecta, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
So I thought that was an interesting observation.
Well, even the arrogance of, Vader's like when he finally buries Obi-Wan. When he knocks him down that pit and then buries him alive, and thinking that, I've got him.
And I liked how when he had the thing off, it said, what did he say? Like, you did not do this to me.
You did not fail. You did not kill Anakin. This is not your failure.
I did this to myself.
Even that smile, he gets that smile, and I think that was the moment for Obi-Wan. I think he kind of knew, but that was like the final moment where he's like, my friend is dead.
And do you think, in some ways, Vader or Anakin, now Vader, wanted to absolve him? Because at first he said, I am what you made me, earlier on. So this one was like, no, I did that. I made this choice. Mm-hmm. Like, it seemed like he said, look, yes, maybe he said, not that he said these words, but he said, maybe, yes, it's true that, you cut off my arms, you cut off my legs, you left me to die in a volcanic pit. And if it weren't for the Emperor and his shock troopers, I would have been dead. But instead, they were able to put me inside of basically an iron lung robot suit. Mm-hmm. And I still live and exist But I was the one who made the decision. I was the one who, whether that's I made the decision to chop off Mace's hand, I made the decision to nearly choke Padme to death, I made the decision to, take the low ground, whatever it is, I did it. It was a very interesting. It felt to me like he was almost absolving, and then maybe in a turn absolving himself, saying, "Well, this is what happened. I did this to myself. Now I will do it to him." But when he walked away from him, and the screaming and of course the half Hayden Christensen, half James Earl Jones voice, French kiss.
Oh yeah,
thank you, Lucasfilm, whatever you did with that. And I got to tell you, man, if it was AI technology that did that, it's a prime example of how you can use AI in such an awesome way. Mm-hmm. No offense to James Earl Jones, will be forever indebted to the actor for doing what he has done. But because of what he has done, because of this technology, we will never have a Vader that doesn't sound like Vader. And I'm grateful.
Oh, that was just so. And to see, because it was nice to see Vader with the face, because you can see the emotion. That is the thing with Vader, is he's still able to show emotion through the suit, but to see that face and to see that anguish and that hate,
absolutely, absolutely.
And even again, I'm pointing out Screen Crush a lot because I just got done actually.
I didn't finish. I have to watch Screen. I only watched this one. Star Force 1, it's called.
Oh, I haven't seen it. Yeah, we usually watch.
They usually get the first thing out. It's usually like a 5 to 10 minute video.
We usually watch Screen Crush or
New Rockstars.
Yeah,
us too.
But anyway, what he was saying was he feels this was the best. This scene right here was some of the best acting Hayden Christensen has done in the Skywalker saga. I have to. Not that I don't think the acting has been bad, but this was just the few lines of the lines of dialogue that he had were just so point on. When he was Anakin, when he heard the Hayden Christensen voice, was just so great.
I agree. Although I will say that last week was when he was the flashback scene. So that scene happens. We are treated to, what is such an emotional, the rematch of the century, and
you finally hear him call him Darth.
Yeah, I caught that.
He calls him Darth,
like twice. He knows Anakin is gone.
Yeah, yeah. So now he says Darth is all that's Vader is all that's left.
I want to jump back before we kind of talk about the wrap up, which is probably one of the longest wrap ups of any of the Star Wars that we've done. Meaning, that last episode of a series or the season, the climax happens, and then there was a long wrap up, with everything, and I liked it. I thought that it wrapped up a lot. But before we get to that, I got to give it up for Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. Come on, Aunt Beru. She did some amazing, she was just being the protector, but, getting the weapons out, and she and Owen were tag teaming on Reva. And even though we both know that Reva would, even injured, be able to handle that, they were being protective. They were caring about Luke and putting their lives on the line for him. So you got to give him credit for that.
Yeah.
I was just happy for the actors, for Joel Edgerton. Joel Edgerton has gone on to do pretty well for himself, but Bonnie Peace, it was a great role, but she barely did anything in Attack of the Clones. So it was nice for her to have this moment.
And it was good to see this kind of, you can see Lars moving from how we saw him in Attack of the Clones and the little bit we see him at the end of Revenge of the Sith, of being kind of more happy, kind of happy to this kind of grizzled.
Why does everybody use that word?
Grizzled. Well, yeah, grizzled farmer, and again, I don't think, as far as the Star Wars character, Lars gets enough credit. Lars raised a Jedi.
Yeah, and he was. I mean, I liked how you really see him take on the role of parent, not uncle, but of parent. And and I loved at the end, as we're one of the bits of closure when Obi-Wan shows up and he said, "You want to meet him?"
That was really good. And I love the scene kind of jumping back to with the confrontation between Reva and Owen when they're fighting, and she says something about he's not your own, or he's not really yours, and he said, "Yes, he is."
Wow. Well, as every and at that point, millions of adoptive parents, cried out in joy and said, "Yes, that is very true."
Yeah. He's every bit
so
theirs.
All right, let's talk about the big Sith in the room. So, there's Vader, talking on the holophone.
Yeah.
And who do we see but
Ian McDiarmid?
The original trilogy Ian McDiarmid. I mean, like the look. And wow, was that so much fun. And you gotta love these actors, they all sign these NDAs. You can't say a word, but it was just a joy. I mean, it didn't have to be a big moment. It was just a joy to see Ian McDiarmid again playing that role, calling Vader out again.
Yeah, and again, saying the same line he says in Jedi. Are your feelings clear on this, Lord Vader?
Yeah, they clear, Lord Vader. Love it. But then we get to the very last scene, and we'll talk about a few more things. But first let's talk about this. Okay. You got Obi-Wan back in his, ROTS, his Jedi outfit with the cutoff or the cutoff robe, and basically being what he looked like, and even clean shaven. He got his not clean shaven, but he cleaned up his hair, he combed it back, got the product for it. Well, apparently they have that on Tatooine. And he does get to go and meet Luke, and he gives the hello there, and it's
hello
like,
there.
Woohoo! He said the line.
How many fans were like, he said the thing. He said the thing.
He said the thing. There it is. I mean, just so much fun.
Oh, there's so many. I mean, just going back, there's so many times, especially in this episode, where I'm like, Vader. Like, let's go back to Vader going down to the planet in classic Lambda class shuttle. When the first time I saw it, I'm like, Shuttle Tydirium, Lambda class. Oh,
unbelievable! It's funny too, because it's like even Lucas himself didn't like to repeat himself. Even Lucas, and you had TIE fighters in the first two movies, and in the third movie you had TIE interceptors, which we've never seen again, by the way. So, Favreau, Filoni, let's get some TIE interceptors back, right? But then there's always been like some variation on them,
Yeah.
And it was nice to just see them.
One thing I want to talk to you about really quick is the music, because someone pointed out something with with the way they did the music a lot of times is you'd hear the beginning of a classic theme, but then it would change. Like you'd hear the beginning of the Imperial March. You'd hear like the first few notes, but then it will kind of change because
this episode they
did the complete Imperial March.
They gave us Leia's theme, they gave us the Force theme, they gave us the Imperial March.
They gave us Anakin and Padme's love theme.
And they gave us when Vader was out. Oh, I mean, we're jumping around, folks. Sorry about that.
Oh,
our brains are like bag of cats right now. So, but a scene when he was on when the Star Destroyer was chasing the little ship. Definite throwback to the Rebel blockade runner, except this ship is kind of weaving and guiding.
Yeah.
And thing is shooting.
That was
increased firepower, and it looked like it really increased firepower. There was I don't know the name of the cue, but
it was the chase scene from
the chase scene. Well, it really wasn't a chase scene. I think they used it was more. No, it wasn't the chase scene. It was the music cue from when Rogue 2 is looking for. They're doing the search on over the snow when the T-47s, I call them snow speeders, were like searching for Luke and Han in the snow the next morning. But it wasn't exactly that.
Yeah. What they pointed out was that you get these little cues, but you don't get all of them because that comes later.
Yes,
those music cues come later.
Right, which makes I get the idea of it. I will say that I felt now maybe it was just the mix for this show for this episode, but I felt that this particular episode the music was more sticking out to me, or although it could have just been that I was hearing a lot of John Williams, and he's just a lot. I'm sorry, it's nothing against Natalie's work. I feel the same way about nothing against Ludwig Göransson's work or the other guy that was helping out with Boba Fett, but I feel like a lot of times these younger composers, they tend to be more. The thematic writing is much more subtle. And it just is now. And we've talked about this. It is much more subtle. I'm not a fan of it, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't dislike it, but it's not something like, I'm not going to go out and buy the Obi-Wan album aside from the main theme. Oh yeah, look, it's written by John Williams, because I hear a theme and I like to hear a theme. It's a leitmotif. It's Obi-Wan's theme now, and I would love it if we got another special edition where we put a little of that theme when he's walking down, making the crate dragon sound, like to kind of connect it. But it's, you know what I mean? Just because I love it. Same thing with Solo's theme, and the Galactic Star Cruisers theme or whatever. So yes, I do recognize what you're saying about how they use just a few beats, a few notes of a theme and then go into a different direction, because yes, we're not there yet. But there were a lot of moments where we got there. We just arrived. Oh, yeah. And let's talk about Leia getting the holster. But that was an interesting scene, and that she put it on, and the mom was okay with this. Like, Alderaan is peaceful. They have no weapons, but they have a holster. But maybe that's a sign of things. We have our holsters are empty. It's like
we carry droids in our holster.
Yeah, right. It ended up becoming a holster for Lola. But then you knew that Obi-Wan was going to come back and deliver Lola. So,
and again, they give a good plot hole cover for why she acts like she doesn't know who Obi-Wan is when she does the holo, because he tells her, like, we have to keep this secret because it could be a danger to all of us.
Right.
So it's like, okay, yeah. It's like, okay, yeah.
I still don't think that was that big of a deal, but it was fine that they said it. But it was such an emotional connection to see, and now all I think of is the next time Obi-Wan sees Leia in person is when she's escaping on the Falcon with Han and Luke and Chewie and the droids, and he takes one look side eye while he's fighting Vader, and then he sees them all together, and he smiles, and then sacrifices. So, I mean, just gets you, Then we get to the very last scene, and everybody was hoping. Even I said to myself, I mean, some argued, perhaps correctly so, that maybe there was too much setup. Like they're just setting it up so much that if they don't deliver, there were going to be riots. Not that I felt that it was that bad, but I did. He kept trying to reach his master. I said, that's what's going to. Now the question is it going to be audible or visual? And again, even more than Ian McDiarmid, because Ian McDiarmid has already made his appearances. He's made his return. He was there in Rise of Skywalker, so he kind of already had that. But Qui-Gon, Liam Neeson,
and the perfect line, like, what took you so long? I was like
exactly what Qui-Gon would say, and it just, I mean, I want, now the only thing is that they whet my appetite. Now I want Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. I don't care that he's a Force ghost. I want them on an adventure together. If Luke can, I mean, granted, I think Luke and Yoda have mastered the whole, semi-corporeal thing better.
Yeah.
But if Luke, first of all, if Obi-Wan can sit on a log, then Qui-Gon can go on an adventure with Obi-Wan. Yeah. So I want to see that. But, and then flashback it to earlier times. So I want to see an Obi-Wan Qui-Gon adventure, even a new adventure, like that gets Qui-Gon. That was another thing that they did, which I thought was interesting, was that Obi-Wan understood that Owen and Beru are doing just fine.
Yeah, he even said that. He's like, he just needs to be a boy.
Right.
Let him be a boy.
So he can definitely have some adventures on his own.
Yeah.
Like, it looked like he was going on his own. Like, he's leaving. He's not going to just sit there and watch over Luke anymore. I mean, I think he's going to keep an eye on him, like, maybe just kind of listen to the rumblings going around, Mos Eisley and whatever.
Yeah.
And find out, if there's been any word about Owen or whatever. But I think he's going to go on some more adventures of his own. Maybe only on Tatooine.
And I think this sets up some of the way that Obi-Wan acts and reacts of in the original trilogy towards Luke, like even after he becomes the Force ghost, almost this thing of like, did I make the right decision? Right. Did I make the right decision of leaving him there? Should I have trained him? Because he basically left it in the hands of the Force. When he left it there, he's left it like the Force will work everything out, and eventually we will find our path together, because if it's the will of the Force, then that will happen.
Right. Yeah, I think this set itself, the whole episode and the whole series really kind of set Obi-Wan on an adventure that filled in. I think it filled in a lot more little gaps than created potholes.
Yeah.
And I was there for it. My daughter loved it. She was texting us through it, so we knew when she saw the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. She used to call growing a funny story when she was growing up. She did not. Both my wife and my daughter are not fans of Revenge of the Sith, only because of the serious dark turn that it takes. And they knew it had to happen. They knew it was coming. But for my daughter, the hardest part for her, she knew, because I told her, that Palpatine was the Emperor, that was Sidious. They were the same person. And but what none of us kind of expected was how, I didn't think about how Palpatine ended up being so kind of grotesque looking in Return of the Jedi. And they kind of explained that with, him trying to shock Mace with the lightsaber, and he was reflecting it back on him, and his face was melting. Well, that just, for my daughter, that was a very challenging scene to get through.
Yeah.
She said she just kept calling him Frog Face. So this is going back 15 years ago, right? And so, she's texting us that she's watching, and we weren't watching together, but she watched it a little later in the day. And then, all of a sudden she texts, Frog Face is back. And I was like, yep, Frog Face is back. Hi, Frog Face. So anyway, okay. Final thoughts on Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series as a whole. You go first.
What was that question? Sorry.
Final thoughts on Obi-Wan Kenobi.
A great show. I mean, I think overall acting wise, this has been the best of the series. I think the acting has been super. Nothing against the other ones, but I think on an acting level, this has been. Well,
you got to give Ewan McGregor props. He's a pretty strong pedigree of actor. He was before Episode 1, and then he did Episode 1, and many consider him to be the strongest aspect of the prequels. That those that didn't like the prequels, many did applaud Ewan McGregor's performance, both acting wise and physically, in his stunt work and his lightsaber work. So yeah, that's to have him back leading this whole series, but also Jimmy Smits and the little girl, the young Leia. She just did an amazing job. So
yeah,
I wish that in the case of a story like this, I know that Lucasfilm is considering a theatrical release, which is fine. But I kind of hope that on Disney Plus, and I think that they could do the same thing with Boba Fett and maybe with The Mandalorian as well, and with all of the series that come out. I wish that they would do a connected version of it. I would love to watch this show, especially with 6 episodes. It's not the biggest show. I think this is a good one to do this with, just to see how it would work. start from the very beginning, no credits in between, no, when we last left everybody, just here's the scene, here's the next scene, here's the next scene, here's the next scene. And it just goes and connects. It'll be 3 hours long, 3 to 4 hours. But I would love to see this movie, see it as a film, like as a connected tissue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that'll ever happen, but it would be a great thing for Disney Plus to release kind of during an off season, an off moment between this series and the next series. And maybe do it by season. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that would be a cool thing. Definitely, personally, definitely. I am here for these side stories, these small adventures that allow us to, break open the character and explore them a little more, explore a previously unseen time period a little bit more. I applaud Disney Plus and Lucasfilm, and Disney, I should say, for it. Now, let's get the characters in the parks, man. I want Obi-Wan. Yeah. I want that droid. I want Reva. I want Tala. I want everybody just have walking around Galaxy's Edge.
Yes.
So we'll see if that ever happens. Let's look forward now, counting the days till Andor. And that's going to be crazy. That's like 12 episodes and then another 12 or something.
Yeah. Or 11, right. Maybe. Yeah.
So that's going to be a definite, closer to normal, kind of what we're more used to with like network TV.
Definitely. Well, I mean, yeah, Obi-Wan, so good.
If you don't like it, turn the TV off.
Yeah.
And you can try something else. Read a book. Read a book. There's literally hundreds of Star Wars books, and something will catch your fancy. But, no complaints about it here. I am here for it. I hope they do another episode. I'd love to see Ewan McGregor return and continue the story. I don't care if they could fill within our lifetime, they could fill literally every second of timeline from the time of the birth of Anakin Skywalker to the time of the death of Rey Skywalker, and thousands of years before and thousands of years after, and it would be fine. So yeah, it's all good. Oh yeah, of course, Obi-Wan Wednesdays, Hasbro has been releasing new action figures, and today was no different. They released the name of a Black Series. Or when I say release, this is the new thing. They didn't actually release it; they just announced it, and then tomorrow they go up for pre-order. Yay! So there's a 3-pack. It's of 3 3/4-inch figures. It's going to be one of the. Obi-Wan had a lot of different looks in this series, so this is one of his looks. And then a Jawa that sells him stuff, and the Purge Trooper, which is really exciting because I think that might be the first time we had the Purge Trooper. And then Black Series, they announced the worker droid. I can't think of his name. The Nevo, I think.
Yeah.
So they've been announcing a couple of figures and other things too, like Funko Pops and all these other things. So I appreciate it. Of course, most of them aren't coming out until literally next year or at the very end of this calendar year. So as a collector, I'm kind of like, yay, great, another pre-order. My poor wife has to, every day another box comes in. It's like, yeah, but I ordered it like 9 months ago. I'm sorry. And it's like a little box, one figure. Boom. So,
yeah.
Whatever. But, yes, life of a collector in 2022. So.
All right. Well, let's. I think that kind of wraps up our look at the Obi-Wan series as a whole. Will, why don't you let the people out there know where they can find you at?
You can find me on YouTube. I live on YouTube. Well, not really, but I have a channel, Darth Tuba Star Wars Unboxing Show. The title is simple. It's exactly what I do. We've had a whole mega unboxing take place the other day. So much so that I think I broke it down into 7 or 8 episodes. Just because I needed to spread it out to get some episodes going while we go away to our Galaxy's Edge trip coming up in a few weeks. And you can reach me at DarthTuba77 at gmail.com. We also have a big yard sale. It's Star Wars garage sale taking place. Anybody in the Central Jersey area, check out the channel. You can email me if you want more specifics. You can also reach me on Twitter at Darth Tuba and on Instagram, same. And Darth Tuba's Star Wars Unboxing page on Facebook.
All right. As for us here at War of the Stars, if you want to get a hold of us, best way to do that is through our email, warofthestars1@gmail.com, or at War of the Stars 1 on Twitter. We're pretty active on there. Or you can go to our Facebook group. We now have a chat on the Facebook group that has been getting a few people in there talking about the show and saying that they are fans of the show. So we appreciate any of the feedback of anybody who is saying that they're fans of the show. To Garrett Jones, Mandy Bratcher, and Francisco Chacon were in the chat earlier, and all have said they enjoy the show and fans of the show. So thank you all. Yes, thank you very much. It's always humbling. I know I see that we have so many views, so many listeners, but it's, for me at least personally, it's always humbling when you get someone personally who says, "Hey, I enjoy the show. I'm a fan. I really like what you guys do." So thank you very much. If you want to support the show, patreon.com/War of the Stars, or go to our Spreadshirt shop, go to spreadshirt.com. and just type in War of the Stars. You can find it there. We are, of course, a proud member of the Red 5 Network. Go to red5network.com for more information on all the shows. If you are in the Chicago area, coming up, I believe it's this next week, Red 5 is going to be doing their own convention, Scarif Con, in the Chicago area. So if you are there and you run into any of the guys or girls from Red 5, say hi to them, tell them how much you enjoy the show, and of course tell them how much you enjoy War of the Stars. Definitely wish I could be there, but unfortunately life just got in the way. As it always does.
Life did not find a way to get you there. Sorry.
No. So with that being said, remember, this is not just my Star Wars. This is not just your Star Wars. This is our Star Wars. Until next time, may the Force be with you.
Goodbye there.